Today is a reminder of what delivering for Bahamians is all about. For the first time, families in Barataria have clean, reliable running water. This is not a plan for tomorrow. It is delivery today. For too long, this community lived with uncertainty. Tanks ran dry. Families carried water. Promises were made, but progress did not come. That was unfair. Our government is determined that no Bahamian should be told to wait for the basics of life, but actually be patient. But we will deliver.
Yeah. Let me anything.
The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the...
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to you all to the Office of the Prime Minister. It's good to see all of you this morning. In our weekly press briefing for today, we will be touching on two very important matters. We will firstly deal with matters of the economy. As many of you may know, just last week, the Bahamas long-term sovereign credit rating was upgraded by the S&P. Of course, that was a very significant indicator for the health and progress of the economy. To address that this morning is the Minister for Economic Development, the Honorable Michael Halkitis, who will also detail the government's budget targets for the last period. We will also be touching on the issue of culture, specifically what is happening within the Junkanoo sphere. There is an apparent conflict between some stakeholders in the Junkanoo community, and we are happy today to be joined by Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Mario Boleg, who will give the ministry's position and hopefully will continue to work with all stakeholders on the way forward in this regard. But we will start off this morning with Minister of Economic Development, Minister Michael Halkitis. Minister?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to all. I see from the crowd here that perhaps we want to hear much more from my colleague, so I will be brief. As Mrs. Adley said, I just wanted to update the press and the public on, well, first of all, I want to publicly offer condolences to the family of our departed colleague, Vaughn Miller, who passed unexpectedly last week. And he was a colleague that I had worked with for a number of years in cabinet, and who I had known in the political arena for quite some time. And we mourn his passing and just wish condolences to his family, loved ones, and his constituents. I just wanted to touch on two matters and perhaps take some questions and then move on to my colleague, Minister Mario Boleg. As Mrs. Adley said, we had two events occur roughly within the last week. Firstly, we had the release of the full year budget outcome for the government of the Bahamas. So the budget year ended June 2025. And I'm happy to say that we initially set a budget deficit target of between 0.3 and 0.7%. and the final numbers are in, and we've come in at 0.5%, which is makes us, we're very pleased with that. It shows that we have achieved the target set at the beginning of that budget year. Those figures were driven by strong revenue performance, growth in the economy, as well as containment of expenditure. They also point to some success in our efforts. You might recall that we expressed concern about the collection of revenue related to high-end real estate, and we've seen some improvement in that, and those have been reflected in the last quarter of the last budget year, as well as the first quarter of this year that will be forthcoming very soon. So we're very encouraged by these results, and I just want to say that it shows these are the full year results, and you would recall that all through the year, well, what we do is we release monthly reports, we release quarterly reports, and then at the end of the year, we release the full year report. And there's a lot of commentary that goes on throughout the year as you see fluctuations in the economy, and there was a lot of debate about, particularly at the mid-year, and discussion about will the government meet its budget targets. And as we said then, and we repeat here, throughout the year there will be fluctuations, but when we do our estimates, we know the nature of the economy. We said then that we will catch up in the second half, and the results have shown that. I want to say one thing about reliability, because I saw an article in the paper today talking about reliability of government figures. The government's numbers that we publish, they are, first of all, we have a department in the Ministry of Finance, that budget department, we have the Treasury, we have the Internal Audit, we have the Auditor General Department, who all look at these numbers. When they are published, we publish them bearing in mind that organizations such as the IMF, such as S&P, such as Moody's, such as now Fitch, such as all of the banks that invest and private investors that invest in government securities of the Bahamas study these numbers, they rely on them, and so it is never even in the contemplation of this administration to do anything with numbers. I saw, the word manipulate in the article today, not even the desire to do so, but even if there were, these things are checked and double-checked by any number of external individuals. The report can be found at www.bahamasbudget.gov.bs. The second matter I wanted to discuss, and it ties into the first, is the upgrade by S&P. On the 26th of September, S&P upgraded our credit rating from B+ to BB-. That is 3 steps below investment grade. We had said during this budget period and afterwards that it is our objective to have the Bahamas return to investment grade within the next 2 to 3 years. This is a step in that direction. This is one step forward. We expect that to continue. I say it's related to the first matter because, when we publish, the S&P commented on the strong growth in the economy, the improvement in our revenue administration, and the containment of expenditures as what has led to their upgrade. And I will say that, again, they would look at all of the figures that we publish, do a deep dive, and so we have no question as to the reliability of what the government is publishing. They speak to the growing economy, particularly the future potential impact of our comprehensive energy reform. And so, all in all, a good economic story for the Bahamas. We do not intend to rest on our laurels because, as the Prime Minister continuously says, we have a lot of work left to do. But we are encouraged that we are able to achieve these results without any increase in taxes, cuts in public services, etc. And so we intend to continue to push. That is an update. I can take some questions now, or we can wait until the conclusion when my colleague has finished as well. Either way, yes. Yes, sir. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, it was said that the Prime Minister made some remarks that the country is in a surplus. Can you confirm that?
Prime Minister never said this country is in a surplus. Prime Minister says that we anticipate that at the end of this budget year that we are in now, 2025, which began July 1st and concludes June 30th, 2026, that we anticipate a budget surplus of approximately $75 million. Not that we are currently in a surplus. It's always been we are projecting a surplus for this year that we're in, that concludes next year, June 30th. Okay? Now, some people believe that if you have a deficit of under 1%, you have a balanced budget, but we came in at 0.5, so we still have a small deficit, so we encourage. It was never said that we are currently in a surplus. We are projecting the surplus for this year that we're currently in now, that began on the 1st of July.
Where's the government in achieving that goal?
I'm sorry?
Where's the government now in achieving that goal?
We had just completed the first quarter. The first quarter ended September 30th. That was what, Monday? Was that Monday? What's the day? Thursday? Monday? No, that was Tuesday. The 30th of September. Okay, so we just finished the first quarter, and so the figures are being compiled and double-checked, and so in short order, you will see the results for the first quarter of the year, and we are very encouraged that we are on the right track, but I'll wait until the numbers are released.
Minister Linnea, my name's from the Tribune.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. So over the past few months, we've seen a pattern of delayed payments to vendors and service providers, from NHI doctors to a property owner in Abaco of the Ministry of Works. And just today in today's Tribune, the Sweeting's Key Clinic was closed yesterday due to a maintenance issue. Because of the maintenance, worker said that she wasn't paid for 6 months. Are you able to give an explanation?
No, I'm not able to speak to that directly, but I will say, and I'll speak to it in a way, but let me just address the issue of the rent payment. I think the minister dealt with that about a month ago. He said at the time that it was an internal matter related to his, something in the accounts department where the payment was not executed. Has nothing to do with lack of funds. I read the story in your paper today about the allegation that this individual was not paid. We'll have to look into that, but I'll say this. It's very easy for someone to say, and I imagine, it's easy to print it as well, to say I haven't been paid. But let me just give you a quick rundown on what it takes when the government engages a service provider, right? There's a procurement process where that person, so at the end of the procurement process, whether it's bid or direct, where that person is identified, that person has to be engaged, that person has to do the work, it has to be verified that the work has been done, and then the person is paid. So it's very easy for someone to say, I haven't been paid for 6 months. Has that person been properly engaged? Has it been verified that the work has been satisfactorily completed? I think these are some of the questions we should ask before we jump to the conclusion that the government isn't paying somebody. That's a very critical part of the entire process. Has the person been properly engaged? Has it been certified that the work has been done? It's very important that we do that, because when you're expending public funds, we have to be careful, because we're dealing with the taxpayers' money. And so I would say that. And the government, every day we pay vendors, every day we incur new responsibilities. So it's a continuing, program of, you pay off people and then you incur more and you continue to pay. One thing I can say, if you do work for the government, you're properly engaged, you do quality work, you will be paid.
What do you mean by properly engaged?
Properly engaged, you have to have a contract. It's not like if I tell someone, come and call a plumber and say, do this for me, and when he's finished, you pay him right there. The government, we have procurement legislation, we have audit legislation, so people have to be properly, someone can't just say, go and do that work. You have to be engaged, you have to be contracted to do the work by the proper person, all right? And so you have to be properly contracted, you have to you do the work has to be certified that it has been completed, you have to have your proper banking details. We have had situations, I'm not saying this is the case with this individual, but I'm just saying that, someone can say or go to social media and say, I haven't been paid. Let's not jump to the conclusion that finance hasn't paid them. And I think the suggestion is that we don't have money to pay people, right? That, of course, that's not the case. So let's not jump straight to finances is not paying somebody. Let's investigate the entire line. Have they been properly engaged? Has the work been done? Has the work been certified as being done? Has that paperwork gone to appropriate accounts department? And then the individual is paid. Have they provided the correct banking information so they can be paid? So all of that goes into it. So all of that to say, I saw the story. I wasn't able to glean from the story very much, just that someone says there was a beehive and the reason they didn't go to work is something that's, yeah. But we're looking into it, yeah.
With the U.S. government now and a shutdown.
Sorry, start the question over. Where is?
The U.S. But the U.S. now seeing their government shut down. Any local implications can be expected here in the Bahamas?
Other than, whatever, our economy depends really significantly on them. So it always depends on how long it lasts. There doesn't seem at this stage to be a lot of appetite amongst their, actors for any sort of compromise, so we'll have to see. I heard one story saying there might be up to 750,000 people furloughed, not paid. Trickle-down effect in terms of, if it causes a slowdown in their economy, how does that affect us? Nothing we can really quantify at this early stage. But as with everything with our economy, we see positive growth, but we're always aware and careful about, things that can happen that are out of our control. And that is why we come right back to budgeting and performance. That is why it's so important that we improve our finances, so in the event of slowdowns, we are in a much better position to withstand it. Okay, you good?
Any further questions for the minister?
I'll be here. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Alcides. Always accommodating, thank you. Well, now we will get into the discussion about Junkanoo. As I said at the beginning, there seems to be a conflict afoot among stakeholders in the Junkanoo community. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture will explain for his part how we got to this point and what the way forward may be. Minister?
Good morning, Bahamas. I would like to take this opportunity to send condolences to Cassandra Miller and her son and the entire family of Juan Miller on his passing. May his soul rest in peace. The government of the Bahamas is responsible for protecting its national pride and chief expression of Bahamian culture, which is Junkanoo. I will now give you a detailed account of the chain of events that has led to the conflict between various sectors of Junkanoo community. Many of you would have realized that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture and his rep, along with the AG, would have met with the JCNP and their rep and attorney as it relates to the authority bill that we intend to lay on the table next week. We would have discussed that, and also after discussing that, we would have come to a conclusion that the JCMP would have provided the ministry with a proposal to manage these up-and-comings parade. During the gap between them providing these proposals, I would have met with the chairman of the JCMP and informed him of disagreements and complaints from disgruntled groups within the JCMP, and I had advised him that he should ensure that these groups who claim to be threatened was treated in a fair manner for the greater good and betterment of Junkanoo. The concerns came to the ministry. I then instruct the National Junkanoo Committee, which is the only statutory body responsible for Junkanoo here in the Bahamas, which is made up of individuals from Junkanoo groups throughout the length and breadth of the Bahamas, including groups here, major groups here in New Providence. The statutory body was in existence for some 40 plus years. The statutory body was also the body that managed Junkanoo prior to the existing of the JCNP. I would have asked this body to investigate the concerns of these various groups under the JCNP. After the National Junkanoo Committee would have done their investigating, they would have reported to me their findings and have made a recommendation that a polling be taken to see which of these bodies would manage the upcoming parade. During the polling that was taken on September 27, 2005, the question was asked on the ballot, who do you wish to manage these parades? I was informed and advised that a result was 19-2 in favor of the NJC, which is the National Junkanoo Committee, to manage these up-and-coming parades over the JCMP. That polling was informed. The result of that polling was sent on to the JCNP and advised them of the decision made by the groups. The only groups that did not participate in this polling from the A category was the world-famous Valley Boys, the Roots, One Family, and from the B category, the Original Congos and Colors Entertainment, who sent a letter of apology and explanation of their absence. In a democratic society, I do believe that in this democratic society that the majority rules. And because of the results of those polling, which some of the groups I saw last night in the press conference, Saxons was represented in that polling who also supported the NJC managing these parades. It is very important to note that to date, the ministry has no agreement with the JCNP to manage these parades. Every year between the months of September for 6 months to February, the government of the Bahamas for the last 21 years, despite the administration, would have gone in some sort of agreement to allow the JCMP to manage these parades. Once that agreement expired in September, the government of Bahamas has an obligation to go into any agreement, to negotiate an agreement for the management of these parades with any group of individuals or any private entity that they seem do fit to manage these parades. So there is no existing contract or obligation of the government to the JCNP in the management of these parades. No private entity has entitlement to the management of Junkanoo. The government has the right to negotiate with any private or individual bodies to manage these parades. I also want to note that for clarity, that the government pays a tune of $2 million annually for the holistics, management, and operations of these parades. The government also pays, out of that $2 million, some $650,000 to $700,000 for the bleachers. These bleachers are provided for ticketing for the parades, which the government in return would give those revenue to the JCNP or allow them to collect once we are in a contractual agreement for paying the prize money. Therefore, all of the expense on these parades is taken on by the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. And the revenues were then given to the JCNP. The government of Bahamas in no way, form, or fashion intends to meddle or try to destroy the JCNP or any organization that exists throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas when it comes to Junkanoo. It is our democratic right to allow for fair play, to allow the groups to determine who they wish to manage these parades. And as a result, the decision of my statement was sent out for the forward movement as relates to these parades. We received a letter from the JCNP on a proposal for their having an opportunity to manage these parades, and if they don't, also what reimbursement they would expect to receive from the government of the Bahamas. The government of Bahamas is not going to be back and forth with any individuals in the public on trying to move forward with these Junkanoo parades. I'm inviting all Junkanooers, firstly. Secondly, all Junkanoo groups within the province who wish to participate in these national parades, which is governed by the government of the Bahamas, to come and participate in the Boxing Day and the New Year's Day parade. Those two parades are national parades that is run by the government of the Bahamas, despite whichever administration is in place. They pay for the parades and they manage the parade. There are no agreement, I repeat, in place with any individuals to manage these parades. The NJC, I repeat, which is a statutory board appointed by cabinet, made up of individuals of each group in New Providence and throughout the Family Islands, who has a vast experience and knowledge of managing parades throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas over the last 40 plus years in their existence, has the capability of managing these parades. They will oversee these parades, and they will also have experienced individuals who would have managed these parades under the JCNP and the NJC in the past to help manage these parades. That is the way we want to move forward, and we hope that this country will be united in unity and love and understand that this is for the best interest of Junkanoo. This is not for the NJC versus the JCNP or the government versus the JCNP. We are moving forward. If the majority of the groups agree that this is what they want, as the minister responsible for culture, I must act in that capacity to move forward in that direction. And I thank you. If there are any questions, I will ask.
My name's from the Tribune. Are you concerned about, a lot of the iconic groups, the One Family group, Saxon seems to support the JCNP?
Saxons participated in the polling and they voted for the NJC, led by their known leader, Willa Francis.
And there is an assertion that the poll results, you said the poll results were 19-2, but the JCNP had said that 10 of the groups were not invited to the polls. Is that true or not?
No, I don't know, but any 10 groups. Who are the 10 groups that invited? The only groups, let's say the groups who are present, who was not there. One Family was notified, as I'm advised. One Family was notified. Roots was advised. They also called the representative of the ministry and advised them of their inability to get to the meeting. I said that we got a text message from Colors explaining they're having anyone available to meet the meeting. And then I talk about the original Congos. That's the 5 that I know was absent. I don't know of any other that was absent.
And the JCMP seems to press the idea that this controversy or this back and forth, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for, I guess, the leader of the Way Forward, Valley Boys.
I don't think the Valley Boys has anything to do with what's happening here today. This has nothing to do with any fractions of the Valley Boys. This is a group of individuals, as you can see in this room, filled with members and leaders of various groups who feel as though they are fair treatment to be held down and threatened to be a part of some rules and regulations that they don't agree with. If you come to me right now, as the Minister responsible for culture, if sporting federations come to me right now and they have some disagreements with their governing body, it is my obligation for fair treatment to step in and ensure that these bodies are treated fair moving forward. The government of the Bahamas didn't put pressure on these groups to make a decision. These groups went in and in a democratic process and made a decision on their own. And because of that, I have an obligation. The government of Bahamas have an obligation to move, which is for the greater good and the majority of the people who is involved in Junkanoo at this time.
Will there be 2 parades? I know last night the JCMP says there'll be 1 parade where all the groups will be judged by the JCMP and others will be judged by the NJC.
I will repeat. The government of the Bahamas is responsible for the national parade. This is a national parade. The government of Bahamas will not pay for a private parade. Any Junkanoo groups that wish to have a private parade, this is a free country. They can have a private parade. But the Boxing Day and New Year's Day parades are national parades paid for by the government. And every group in this entire Bahamas, in New Providence, and even the Family Islands, if they want to come to New Providence, are free to join these parades, but these parades will be governed by one body, one parade management committee, one parade management team, one set of judges.
And just to clarify, the NJC will be managing the upcoming
The NJC will oversee the management of these parades, but as I say, the parade management committee and the parade management team will be made up of experienced Junkanoos who in the past has managed these parades, whether they were under the body of the NJC or the JCNP.
I guess as culture minister, how do you feel that this tradition now has come to this?
I'm very disappointed because this tradition should have never became political, and it's becoming very political. And I have to stand here in this day and time and lean not on my own understanding but that of the Lord. And I believe that the best way we could have made this decision is the democratic process that take place. Ask the group to make a decision and vote. That's what happens, and that's what they did. The NJC decided to put a polling. The groups who had interest in Junkanoo came. Those who give the excuse and did not come, they understand, but a polling took place. If today or tomorrow we have an election, we can't say, I didn't make it to the poll and I didn't vote. We got to go with those who made it to the polls and vote, those who didn't make it, and if you add the difference, I don't know if that would have changed the results.
You are confident in the management committee's ability to...
I am very confident in the management committee that I was advised by the chair of the NJC who would be chosen to manage these parades. Look at the management of the parade of Grand Bahama. Look at the management of the parade of Exuma and all the other Family Islands parade. Look at Junior Junkanoo, where everybody is at awe with the execution of these parades. I want the Bahamian people to understand that whatever we do is not for political gain or any promotion of myself or any individuals. I have a job to do. I was elected to put policies in place and to ensure that I give the Bahamian the best thing that is possible for them. And right now, the best thing is possible for them is to go in the way forward where the majority of the Junkanooers believe that the direction they should go in. If they have an election today or tomorrow for Junkanoo, again, and that doesn't change, what you want me to do? Should I go with the minority or the majority? I believe that's why we have a democratic process, that you must always lean on what is best for the majority, not the minority.
What's your response to Brian Adley saying that you're wrong for recognizing Trevor Group as the only Valley Boys?
He's entitled to his opinion, but my statement was made basically on the fact that there was a court ruling, even though there's an injunction on the court ruling. If the court rules today or tomorrow that my name is no longer Mario Boleg, what you want me to do? I only could fight it. But if he say you name Mario Boleg, you got the name. I could not get involved in that. That was a court decision. You know, the Valley Boys is not gonna be front line in these up and coming parades to try to distract Junkanooers and the Bahamian people on what's going on in Junkanoo. Every group, Brian Adley and his group, is preparing to get on the parade. I hope to see them on Bay Street on the parade, just like any and every other group here present and those who are not here present, to rush in these up and coming parades. If you love Junkanoo and you want to rush, you would come on Bay Street. You will get your seed funding, you will compete, and whatever position you fill in, you will get your prize money and you will move on.
Are you able to say if Mr. Adley's group received the seed funding yet?
How could he? He have not provided me with the necessary documentation. Every individual group and individuals who participate in these parades must provide the government with a business license, a TCC, and a TIN number in order for the government, for you to be in compliance with the government in order for us to give you funding. I've asked that group to provide me with the necessary documents so that they can receive their funding. Their funding is still in the budget line waiting for them. And if they give it to me today, they get their money. If they give it to me tomorrow, they get their money. They are not being disenfranchised from any other group. They are a part of the Junkanoo world, and my objective is to get every group on Bay Street to compete and put on a show for the Bahamian people.
What's your message to Bahamians who are looking forward to the end of the year, to these parades that they knew and loved?
I think the Bahamian people should be prepared for. We're going to commence the festival aspect of these parades this year. In the next coming days, you will see members from the NJC will come forward and explain to the Bahamian people some of these festivities that will be taking place that will lead up to, you remember, we talk about festivals that will lead up to the climax of the festival, which is the parades. Here in New Providence, also on the Family Islands, Grand Bahama has been the forerunners in that. The groups and the people in Grand Bahama is quite happy with what they've seen take place. And once those events is scheduled out, we want the Bahamian people to partake and enjoy and prepare themselves to come on Bay Street and see the fantastic performance they will always see on Bay Street to these parades.
And just one last question for me. How many persons will make up the management committee? I know you say like they come from persons of background in Junkanoo, but say how many?
I think it's about 15 persons. 15 persons. Right now, the chair of that committee is Douglas Hanna. And everybody who's been around Junkanoo long enough knows that Douglas Hanna has been a part of managing parades, whether it was under the JCNP or the NJC. So Douglas Hanna will chair the parade management team. He has some veterans behind him. Like I said, I've seen the names that was presented to me. All of these individuals participated in management of these parades within the last decade, and even most recently, whether they were part of the NJC team or the JCNP team.
They were just like selected at random, just off of like recommendations.
Recommendations, and also based on their experience, and persons who would have come forward to say that, listen, I would like to assist and give back to Junkanoo, which I was a part of all these years, and would like to continue to see it move forward. And that's why these persons would have came forward. There is no way in the world we're going to bring inexperienced individuals to manage these parades. Every name that will be named in the upcoming days, you will find out that these are experienced people who've been around Junkanoo long enough, who understands this, who have managed parades before, know what to do, and know how to make sure that this thing moves smoothly. The Bahamian people must understand that there's going to be no disruption in these parades. I'm just disappointed that the JCNP would not have been more professional in their negotiation and not run to the media so quickly all the time to cost the scores inside the public. You know, it's one thing to have your opinion when you would have sent us the letter. The last conversation I had with them was that me and the AG is drafting a response. A response means let's patiently wait. And once you get that response and then you come back to negotiation table, we didn't need to be in the public back and forth. But as the minister, you know, time is winding down. I have to make a decision. And that decision is made, and that's the direction in which we intend to move in. And I hope to see those groups last night, who was there with the JCNP, to come and be a part of these parades. Because it doesn't matter who managed the parade. What happens is when you get on Bay Street and you perform, that's what this is all about. Why spend thousands of dollars in the shop and then decide that you're going to waste those money sitting out and not coming to a parade, which something you love? And this is why I speak to the Junkanoos themselves. If you love Russian and you love Junkanoo and your group decide that they don't want to go on Bay Street, there are many other groups you can get on Bay Street and enjoy what you love doing. This is a free country, and everybody's free to do as they wish and do what they like once it's in the line of the law, and they remain in the guidance and under the law of the Bahamas.
Does the JCNP have the opportunity to maybe manage future parades, or like where does this leave the JCNP?
It leaves, of course they have opportunity to manage future, but it's about negotiating. You know, they are not negotiating at this point in good faith for the greater good of Junkanoo. If they had the majority of support of the groups, we wouldn't be here today. The governor of Bahamas has no intent of managing any Junkanoo parade or being involved in Junkanoo or getting involved in any disagreements in Junkanoo. But as a minister responsible for culture, if things come to my attention, I am obligated to address these matters. We are here today because there has been a division in the JCNP, and the majority must rule in every aspect in this life.
So how does the ministry justify such a large expenditure when there are other pressing national needs? And what is the cultural and economic return on the investment?
We've been spending this money for decades. This ain't just happened under this administration. There's more money needs to be spent in Junkanoo, if you ask me. That's just a little tiny spot. But we can, because of the obligations we have with other ministries and the more important things we need to address in this country, it's the reason why we still believe we're getting peanuts when it comes to Junkanoo. So when you're talking about returns, the returns is the love the Bahamian people feel when they're out there, coming out their bed 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and on Bay Street, whether it's raining or not, and enjoying the culture that they love. We spend that money because it's all for the Bahamian people. That's why we do that. The Junkanoos get on Bay Street because I hope for majority of them, it's all because of the Bahamian people and not themselves. Because if nobody shows up, who are you performing for? So again, every dollar we spend and every investment we made in Junkanoo is because of the Bahamian people.
Questions for Mr. Bolek? Okay, I understand, Minister, there's one more question for you,
Me?
Mr. Hopkins.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for staying.
Yeah, no problem. Hello again. One more question?
Hi.
Hey.
Morning, yeah.
Hi,
I
Faye.
think you said that the year end is the full year snapshot,
Mhm.
right? So can
Full
you?
year final number.
Yeah, full year final number, so all of the, I guess, revisions would have been done in that.
Yes.
So can you
All.
speak to the changes to the deficit and the spending numbers going back, especially for the months of July to November?
Yeah, I saw that in, I don't know if it was your paper, but I saw the question. It's a very simple question. The revision is this. You might recall that the Bahamas joined the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean during the past year, CAF. It's called the CAF. We joined CAF. Part of joining the CAF, we subscribed $25 million to become a shareholder in the bank. When we initially did it, we classified that as an expenditure. When the IMF came in and did their review, they sat with us and they said, listen, this is rightfully an investment. It doesn't need to be expenditure. So we removed that $25 million from expenditure and put it below what they call below the line. It's an investment. And so I think the entire figure was about 37 million. 25 of that was for CAF, and then the rest was just a combination of other minor revisions. And so, again, revisions are not unusual, and that is why a lot of times when we release enough figures, we say preliminary figures, meaning not final. And so I would just encourage all to bear that in mind. And again, just to reiterate, we release monthly reports, we release quarterly reports, and then we release the annual report. And you know, unfortunately, sometimes tends to be an overreaction when you see a monthly report. You see something, oh, the deficit has gone up, and we have to come out and say it's just 1 month. We got this. We know what we're doing. And so and then I got to say, and it's unfortunate that politically, some seek to take advantage of it to paint a worse picture of the finances of the country than they are. And unfortunately, it takes external people to come and do the analysis and say, this is the true picture. And just one last shot to the politicians out there, because I imagine, this might ramp up, is that, when you take these shots and get a little hysterical when you see these things and put out these hysterical statements, it's not only consumed here in the Bahamas, it's consumed internationally. And so then we have to go out and sit with financial institutions and explain to them what the true picture is, doing damage control, so to speak. So that's just, as Minister said, I'll leave with this short. We're in a democracy, so anybody's free to say what they want, but particularly when it comes to the financial well-being of the country, of course ask, of course demand accountability, but particularly aimed at the politicians out there who seek to score points. Let's be a little more measured in our statements, okay?
And I guess last question from me.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of discourse about it recently, right?
Mhm.
The unemployment rate,
Mhm.
unemployment rate statistics came about.
Mhm.
Some have said that it's an indication that the economy isn't doing well,
Mhm.
or, that there's some demographics of people that are unable to find employment in the country. What would be your response to that?
My response will be, as I said to one of your colleagues earlier today, well, we see the result of the budget and the finances, the financial performance of the government up to, which includes, the first 6 months of this year, but the total budget year, we see that's very good. We've seen the upgrade. We know that the first quarter results in terms of the finances will come in very shortly. The first quarter is completed. And all of that, you don't get good finances if your economy is going in the tank, all right? And so we saw the release. We did a bit of a deep dive in it to see what contributed to it, and there was some mention of the certain factors acting together. Not one particular thing, but several factors, including timing and including some closures and some islands, some businesses, the timing of when the report was done. And so we study it and we try to get a better appreciation of what caused the increase. And so that way we are able to direct our policy response. One comment that came out of it, for example, was a mismatch in skills training and what the demands are in the job market. And you saw, I mean, 2 days after that came out, we were launching our DigiLearn program, which is designed to help people improve their skills, where the government of Bahamas is allowing its citizens to, providing for its citizens to be able to go and do free courses in things like Excel, Word, just an example, a whole slew of other courses to improve their marketability and their skill level. We see the continued investment in the National Training Agency and the National Apprenticeship Program. And so again, what you do, you look at the figure, go and try and get a deep dive, look behind it to see what the elements are that have caused this and what we think is a temporary uptick. That way you can drive your policy response. So in no way is it any indication in my mind that the economy is in trouble. And I just one last thing I'll point to is, as the Minister of Labor said, you know, on their portal alone is about 400 jobs that are waiting to be filled. You know, you had one hospitality company about 3 weeks ago had a job fair where they were looking for 400 spaces. And so the economy is generating demand for jobs. We have to make sure that our people are equipped to be able to fill them. Okay? All right, thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ministers Halkitis and Bolag, for those very comprehensive remarks. And with that, I just want to thank all of you for attending today and hope we were able to bring further clarity on both of the matters discussed. And with that, we bring this press briefing to a close. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again.